Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's University Business web seminar, which is entitled Boosting Student Recruitment and Retention with CARES Act Funding, which is brought to you by the generous support of our sponsor, Parcel Pending by Quadient. Now, before we get started, I'd just like to share just a few housekeeping items with you. For technical support, please use the chat panel on the right side of your screen, and then just select on my name, which is Stephen Blackburn, and type your message if you're having any issues, and I'll get to you as quickly as possible. If you don't have computer speakers, or maybe if you prefer to listen privately, just please dial the phone number and access code that I'll be posting in the chat window in a few moments, so look out for that. We will also be welcoming any questions that you have today with a Q&A session that will be taking place at the end of the presentation. To submit a question, please just use the Q&A panel, which you can find again at the bottom right side of your screen, and then send your questions to all panelists. If you currently don't see the chat or the Q&A panels, again, look to the right side of your screen, and then you'll click on what looks like the expanded triangle, which is directly in front of the panel name, to make sure you have access to it. Also, the last thing I'd like to say, if you would like to access the web seminar at a later time, you'll be pleased to know that everyone who is registered and who is attending today will receive an email with a link to the slides as well as the archive recording. And with that, it is my pleasure to hand things off to our two facilitators of today's event. First, we have Rob Zinski, who is the Director of Business Development at Parcel Pending, and Daniel Greeny, who is the Director of Solutions Engineering at Parcel Pending as well. Nice to have you with us, guys. We really appreciate it.
And Stephen, thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity today, and I'd like to say good afternoon or good morning to everybody, wherever you may be. We'd like to thank you today for joining us for the session, and really want this to be a session that hopefully you can get a lot of value out of. So feel free to ask any questions as we go along. Just put them in the chat, and we will address them as they come in today. So as we wind down, I hope you all are either just finishing or have already concluded your fall semester, and hopefully it was successful. So really looking forward to the presentation today. And as Stephen said, I'm Rob Zinski. I'm the Director of Business Development, and hosting with me today will be Dan Greany, and he is the Director of Solutions Engineering. So what I'd like to do is just take a minute and introduce the panelists today that will be joining us. And we're very excited to have them here today, and we thank them for their time. What I'd like to do is just give them a second just to introduce themselves, and so you can get a flavor for what they do inside the university space today. So with that, I'll start off with you, Blaine Gabriel from Ohio University. So Blaine. You're on mute, Blaine. Okay, we're going to skip over Blaine and come back to Blaine. We'll go with Mona Lisa Colon from Valencia College. Mona.
Hello, my name is Mona Lisa Colon, Director of Auxiliary Services Campus Store Operations at Valencia College. Oversee 5 campus stores and now an online fulfillment center. And just to give everyone an idea, our student population right now is almost 70,000. So in sunny Orlando, Florida.
Thank you, Mona Lisa. And joining with Mona from Valencia College is Frankie Ortiz. Frankie.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. As you indicated, my name is Frankie Ortiz, and I work with Mona Lisa. I started before the pandemic as a campus store manager, but as our previous president said, when this is all over, it may not be the same seat you started at, but you will have a seat. So now my seat is assisting Mona Lisa with special projects that we do throughout the campus stores.
Okay. Well, thank you, Frankie, and thanks for joining us. And from Marian University, we have Andrea Fleck.
Hi, I'm the mailroom manager at Marian University in Indianapolis. So what I do is handle all the mail and packages that come in for the university. We're a lot smaller Mona Lisas. We have between 2,000 and 3,000 students enrolled. But that's kind of what we do. We handle everything from mail to packages.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, and thanks for joining us. And I'll take one more shot at Blaine, if Blaine is out there. I know he's having a little bit of difficulty. So Blaine, I don't know if you're out there.
We can see Blaine's seat, so maybe we could ask Blaine's seat to introduce itself.
Hey, can you hear me now?
There he is.
We got you, buddy.
Okay. I'm Blaine Gabriel. I'm Director of Printing Services, Campus Mail, Student Mail, Moving and Surplus, and the Sign Shop. And we oversee, I don't know, we do quite a few packages, and I don't think we're quite as big as Mana, but we have roughly about 20,000 students counting our regionals right now. So we stay pretty busy. And we're in Athens, Ohio.
Good old Ohio. Love it. And thanks for joining us, Blaine. So with that said, so we've got some great panelists and very knowledgeable. So with that, we're going to slide into the agenda, which really is talking about one more slide, the agenda. There we go. The agenda. So basically what we'll do real quick is we're going to just cover what we call our campus hub. And really what that is it's a strategy that you're going to probably hear the panelists talk about. So I wanted to just make sure that we cover that so you have an understanding if they talk about the hub or the hub model, what they're referring to. So we'll do that real brief, and then we're going to do a little poll question. Then we're going to just, do a little conversation around the CARES Act, just to make sure that we level set and make sure that everybody understands what the CARES Act is and how you might be able to leverage that. And then we'll really get into the meat of the conversation today, which is a Q&A with the panel. Obviously, we've got some questions that we'll be asking, but we do at this point, want you to have, the opportunity to ask any questions that you might have. And as I said, we'll take them. Dan will rattle them off, and we'll make sure we get those answers for you. And then when we're done, we'll do a little Q&A and wrap up, and we'll get you on your way in the next hour. So with that said, I think the first thing we have is a little poll question that comes up, just so that everybody can kind of get the feel of using the tool. And we'll see if we can give a little question here. So what is dirty when it is white? We have the old polar bear. We've got ice. We've got a lump of coal. We got a blackboard. So if you can just go and click on one of the choices here, we'll total that up and see if we all got the right answer here. Okay. The survey says that 73% got the right answer, which is a blackboard. Okay, so at least we know how to use the tool. We've got that down pat. So we'll be using that a couple times during the presentation. So let's kind of roll into the next slide, which will really kind of talk about our campus hub strategy. So really, what is the campus hub? And the campus hub really, if we just go to the next slide, is really what our whole methodology is built on. And basically, traditionally, the locker systems were set up to go into the student union and for the mail services operations. But what we realized quickly is that it had a useful use case across the entire campus. So what you're looking at here is just a traditional campus layout. And if you think about it, the majority of campuses do have a lot of similarities, right? They've got the traditional, like I said, student union, student centers, the mail services operation. They've got bookstores. They've got a library. They've got administrative services, off-campus housing. And really, it's really about the scale. As you heard, Mona Lisa says, she's got 70,000 students she's serving. Andrea's saying she's got, 3,000 or 4,000. And, so in some operations, what you might see is consolidation of a bookstore and the mail center together. But generally, all of the same services are offered across the campus. It's just a matter of the size. So if you think about it, traditionally we would look at the mail operation and use the locker systems to help with the changing of the mail, the traditional mail decreasing in volume, the packages increasing as a way to, help give some, space back as those mail operation centers became more crowded and crowded. But if we go to the next slide and you look at this, you can also see that IT services is an area that utilizes the locker systems. And what this is basically if you, needed, like everybody did probably during COVID, to deliver laptops to students or even to faculty and staff, the lockers became a way to exchange those assets without having to have that physical interaction. So it just became a way to integrate the notification to the student or to the faculty staff member that they had something to pick up. That would be a laptop, not a package. But at the end of the day, it allowed us to, allowed them to get, a contactless way to deliver these assets. We also saw the use case inside of the library. You've had circulation desks, and a lot of the universities went to a curbside pickup. But what happened, is the locker systems became a great way for you to put them outside the library and, again, deliver the books, the media. They were able to check in and check out these books through the locker systems. And lastly, I'll just talk about the bookstore. And I think we'll hear some use cases about this from a couple of our panelists today. But again, it just began another way to deliver the merchandise to the students via the locker systems. So they would go online, they could order their game shirt or their whatever their books from the bookstore. They'd get a notification when they were distributed into the lockers, and the locker system would send a notification out to the student, and then the student would be able to pick up the asset at that point in time. And so it really, the use case became, expansed across the entire campus as exchange points, right? So that's really what the lockers came to. So if we want to go to the next slide, we'll really kind of come back and say that overall, the lockers now became exchange points for merchandise, assets, became, even in tickets for will call across the entire campus. So that's the hub model, and the hub model is using the locker system that has an integrated software application as that means that you can now go across the entire campus. So we'll hit the next slide. And so, what does it mean? It becomes, that one platform, right? So it's the one central platform for all the different campus services. And really what it allows you to do is not only, drop off these assets or merchandise, but also to do any kind of return logistics as well. So ultimately, you can streamline the operations for all the different services across the entire campus. So with that said, what I want to do now is do our second poll question, which really kind of gives us an understanding of, how familiar are you with the CARES Act today? And 1 being, I don't really know what the CARES Act is today, to a 10 being, I'm totally, familiar with and can even, have leveraged the CARES Act funds. So if you could just click on that little poll, it'll help us understand, how deep we should kind of go into the next couple of slides. Okay, so it looks like we've got across the board, we've got definitely some knowledge of the CARES Act funds, and it's on the the higher side, so that's a good thing. So what I'm going to do now is really just quickly, I'm going to take a couple minutes, and we're just going to dive into the CARES Act, what it is, and what it is it's government approved funding. It might be referred to as the HERF funds, the Higher Education Emergency Relief Funds. And what it was is it's just allocated funds to support the reopening of your campus in a safe environment, and that could range from hand sanitizers to new washing machines to technology to infrastructure. But basically, what it is funds that are government provided And what happens is your university applies for this. And if they apply for it and it gets granted, the funds get allocated to a university, and then the university has 12 months to spend those funds. So that's, just high level what it is. And a lot of times in the university, you may or may not be aware of this, but there is funds out there that are available for you to use. And as well as there's also some dashboards and some utilities that you can look at that will give you information about the funds, what you might be allocated already, if you've been allocated any funds, and then also what you've spent year to date and what you have left to spend. So basically, it's a good quick snapshot to give you some information about your university, and it's a very easy tool to use from the dashboard's perspective. You just click on the state and type in your university name, and it'll pop up if your university has been allocated any of these funds. So high level, that's the CARES Act, and we're going to hit our next poll question right before we get to our panelists. And what is not true about CARES Act? Government approved funding, allocations to support the enhancements, allocated funds to be used in 12 months, or perhaps a care package from parent and guardian. Okay, we are winding this down, and we are going to look at these last results here. And you are correct. Everyone that responded is correct. We have it is not a care package. That is correct. So, okay, with that said, really what I want to do now is move into, really what our presentation is really all about. And that's really, hearing from some of your peers as to what they did and how they did, were able to leverage the CARES Act funds. So again, I'll just preface, if you have any questions, feel free to send them in the chat. Daniel is working behind the scenes, and we'll address them as they come. So Andrea, hopefully you're out there, and I'm going to throw the first question to you, if you don't mind. So how did you become aware of the CARES Act funds, and that they were available, and that your package distribution, project, that smart lockers that you acquired, were potentially able to leverage them?
Thank you. It started with my supervisor. My supervisor is the director of business services, and so she is very aware of CARES Act and how that money has to be used. And I had been presenting her with the data of how many packages we're getting in. And through COVID, we changed some of our procedures. So we started delivering the mail for the different departments to the lockers we had already purchased prior to COVID. And we had other things that we wanted to do to use the lockers, but we were limited on space. And so between the number of packages we get and the plans we wanted to continue and expand because of COVID and how long it's gone on, she came up with the idea that we could use some of that money to get more lockers, so we're able to expand and keep doing the things that we need to do.
Okay, so you said your director was aware. Was she made aware, or did she reach out to them and say that, hey, I'd like to use these funds? How did that?
I think she reached out, but she had been doing a lot of the work because of getting like distributions to students that when we need to do that, or the different ways that we had to use it. So she was in a lot of the knowledge of what was happening with the money and how to go about using it. And so I think when we were coming up with the project list of things that they wanted to use it for, that became part of, the lockers became part of the project list.
Got it. Okay. All right. And then we get back to the project list too. So I think we've got a question around that too. So maybe you can chime in there and talk about that. So, okay. Thank you very much there. So I'm going to go to Frankie. And if, I think I'm going to ask the question here. You had a lot of things, potentially you were dealing with. So why did you choose the smart lockers over other possible options?
When this whole pandemic thing started, we had to kind of switch really fast of how we were going to do things. And we did not have lockers at the time. So we tried shipping out to students. That was costing us about, and Melissa can correct me if I'm wrong, it was about 200,000 per semester just to ship out to students. So that's not going to last very long. We also tried a curbside program, but again, with about 70,000 students, we needed a small army just to be able to get packages taken out there. Here at Valencia, we have a program which is called the, geez, I forgot the name of it all of a sudden, the talent sharing program. And through the talent sharing program, basically other departments come and they help each other during their busy period. So, for example, we just volunteered to assist graduation because this is our slow time. So during rush, we have people from all departments, including the future president of the campus was out there running books to students. And she noticed, you know what? This is not sustainable. We just can't continue, bringing in 20, 30 people every single day just to run books. It's just not going to happen. So that was another option that we tried. When we said, okay, well, let's open up and do a pickup in store. Then we had the problem of keeping students separated. So the social distancing thing became an issue. So we tried several different things. And when we started doing our research, we noticed that the locker system itself was going to be our best option because, again, we can save money and it gave us the ability to extend our hours basically 24/7 for students to be able to pick up their packages whenever it was convenient for them. We didn't have to have that small army to make sure that the students got their materials on the first day of class, which is basically our biggest goal, is to make sure that every student is prepared on that first day of class.
Okay. All right, so you basically are, really saying that, hey, you tried several different options, but everyone had some limitations to it, whether it be labor intensive or whether it be costly or whatever it may be. You went down a couple paths, but just not sufficient to give you what you're looking for.
Absolutely right. I mean, just again, cost effectiveness, it wasn't there. People had to be working 6-7 days a week just to make sure students were prepared. It just wasn't feasible. It's just not sustainable.
Yeah. So along that same line, so then you kind of did some research and looked and said, hey, you might have found a viable option here with the locker system. How did you then go to leadership to say, you're right? Because it's great you come up with the options and we've got great ideas, but sometimes whether it be the funding or leadership might look and say, oh, great idea, but not today.
Yeah, and thankfully for the CARES Act, the Valencia College leadership team, they had already developed and they had a process in place in which through that process, you would go ahead and you will fill out a form and you would explain the operational aspects of it, as well as how it would benefit the students. Okay. So, but with that being said, there's two parts of it. That's how we looked at it when Mona Lisa and I sat down to discuss how are we going to present this to leadership. We said, okay, so let's look at it. What do we need for today? But what do we need for the future? Because today we can solve the problem, but 10 years down the road, what are we looking at? So we said, okay, so today what we want to do is we want to keep our community safe and save a little money, because that's our biggest challenge right now, is what are we going to do to keep our students safe? So when we started talking about that, we decided to change our business model. Just as you indicated, we decided to go with the model of taking all of our course materials. So we have no course materials in the stores. Everything is what we call it the OFC, or the Online Fulfillment Center. Everything is there. Of course, we do have general merchandise, swag, things like that in the stores. But as far as course materials, everything is online. The students purchase those items online 24 hours a day through the website at their convenience. And again, they pick it up at the lockers through their convenience. No waiting, no lines, avoids, those social issues of being too close, things like that. So that's how we were saying, that's how we're going to keep our community safe. As far as the saving money aspect of it, because that's something else we're trying to do today, it reduced our labor costs of, again, having those 10 to 20 people, if not more, per shift, just to run curbside. As I indicated before, it was easy for us to kind of get it across to leadership because the future president of our college which is Dr. Polinsky, she was actually running books with us. She was assisting us in making sure students were getting their books the first day. I mean, we had deans, we had vice presidents of the college all out there because, again, when it's for the student, everybody's on board. So it was pretty simple and pretty easy to get it to them because they already knew what our struggle was. So then we said, okay, so how are we going to look into the future? You know, how are these, once hopefully this whole thing is over with the pandemic, what are we looking into? And again, just like you indicated, we said, okay, we got OIT involved. OIT, this is how you're going to be able to use the lockers. Well, after you refresh your computer, we may have a visiting professor who needs a computer fixed but doesn't have somewhere to have it stored. You know what? We can go ahead and put it into their locker. We said, how are we going to assist the library? Again, easy for them to go ahead and create a process in which a student can pick up a book from a locker and return it to the locker. Again, 24 hours a day, especially here in Orlando, where we have basically the tourism capital of the world. We have people that work all times of hours, all kinds of shifts, you know, so that student that gets out of work at 10 o'clock at night, he or she can still go pick up that item that they borrowed from the library and be ready to go the next day. Our courier teams, we just went through so many different departments of how we can help them. The one that I'm proudest of is we're going to be using it in the coming future. It's not set yet, but it is something that we are working towards, is going to be our food pantry program. You know, food insecurity is really big. So what we're doing is we are working with one of the other departments, which is student development, to go ahead and use foods from the food pantry program. Students can go ahead and order what they want. We go ahead, we package it, we put it in the locker. That way, if somebody's embarrassed that they don't have enough to eat, you know, they can just go there, open up the locker, grab the items that they need, and they're on the way. We just want to make sure everybody has something to eat every night, you know? So those are the ways that we approached it. Again, we looked at it as the present as well as the future.
Great, great. So it all started like it sounded, you know, when you started that whole thing, it started with you had to kind of build the business case to the university, right? So, you know, which, you know, like I said, evolved around not only that student experience, but the safety, but also what's the growth opportunity for this as well. So it sounds like you did a good job there. So Mona, I'm going to kind of dovetail, you know, over to you here with, you know, when you're looking at this and you were, you know, trying to influence, right, you know, for the funds up there, you know, how did you, you know, how did your institution's priorities and other initiatives influence how these funds were going to be used and allocated? Because you probably had to sit in front of a few people here and there and pitch this. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, the great part is, like Frankie mentioned, Valencia had, I mean, quite the process and still does have quite the process to request any of this funding. So it was very clear. We knew exactly the information we needed, and we knew that the three priorities for CARES Act funding were it needed to be able to prevent. There were three: were prevent, prepare, and respond. So we needed to be able to, whatever project it was, had to check these boxes, and ours checked all three. So prevent, it prevents the spread of COVID, right, by almost a fully contactless solution. So we had that in our request. The response is that we were responding to all the new COVID protocols, right, which is the social distancing, just the changes to the industry. Period. I mean, you know, all the stores that were closed down, that weren't able to reopen. We knew we had to be creative, so that was our response. And then, of course, to prepare for anything in the future, in case we do have another shutdown. We needed something to already be there, so we wouldn't have to be as creative as we were the last time. Although it was very fun, it was very stressful for a lot of us. So no, we checked all the boxes, and that was. I hate to make it so simple, but Frankie covered half of what I wanted to say. So, but because we already had that from the beginning, it moved us quickly through the process. I mean, I will say, and you know, there were a lot of requests that went through from different departments that did not even make it past that first initial presenting. So we moved very quickly. We were actually the first project to be all the way approved through the CARES committee. So we're super proud of that.
You know, that's a great, you know, there might be some information there for the other group. As you just said, you were one of the first projects. What were some of the other projects that were on the table that you were competing with?
So I personally, I don't think we were competing with them because none of them were as large as ours and as great as ours. I'm a little biased. But there were such a variety. So there were from golf carts to security radios to software specific to departments, testing programs. There were a lot of requests for one-time purchases of, you know, hotspot devices or loaner laptops for students. But the good part is we really tried to, we knew what the other requests were, so we really tried to connect ourselves with those. So for the loaner laptops, that one, they did get approved as well. And then we reminded them, hey, by the way, OIT, for those loaner laptops, you can use the lockers to keep this program going. Same thing with the hotspots. We've kind of connected ourselves to any of the, we have some, we report to the VP of Business and Finance, who is one of the chairs of the institutional committee. So we kind of get a big look of all the different requests that are out there. So we've done a good job of connecting ourselves to all of the other ones. So again, I don't think I think so far this is the largest that has been approved so far.
Okay.
But there've been a lot of other ones.
Good, nice. Well, I think, like you said, between you and Frank, I think you guys did a really good job of building that business case and, like you said, showing that, you know, it's not only to solve one problem, it solved multiple problems across the campus, or has the ability to solve multiple problems as you grow and expand it. So very good, very good. So I'm gonna jump over to Blaine, and you know, kind of see, how about yourself, Blaine, with your business case? How did you present that for approval?
Well, we kind of had a little bit of a jump start because we'd already put smart lockers in a couple faculty buildings. And we was in the process before COVID hit of put smart lockers up here at Printing Services. We're a little different. The mail service delivers our printing also on campus. So it was easy for me to kind of put together how many buildings we wanted to try to do with this. And then we actually put it in the student center. So basically what I had to do is I had to sit down and figure out how much time a day we thought we would save, because the way mail was is we delivered to everybody's desk. So by putting in the lockers, now we can go to the lockers. So that was easy. The student centers, we employed like 54 students in 3 student centers. So I was able to look and try to keep them still quite a few people in there, but this last quarter, we only had 30 students working instead of 54. So there's quite a bit of savings. So when I put this all together and then presented it to my director, which was, she's over the business service, it was real easy for me to get it and ask for the CARES money. And it went all the way to the CFO and they jumped on it. They didn't even hesitate. They just took it right from the start.
Yeah. So it's so kind of, if you could just maybe expand on that, and then maybe Mona, you know, or Andrew, if you want to jump in as well. You know, where did it have to go to get the approvals, right? What were the different levels, and ultimately who is kind of the, you know, where did it have to kind of get blessed off of, so to speak?
Mine as a service director was to me, she directs directly straight to the CFO. So I have a pretty good connection with the CFO. So when we put all of our stuff together, I mean, it just went straight to her and she loved it, and it went straight to our CFO and she approved it without really even going to the president at the time, because you know, we was wanting to get this done before the end of the fiscal year last year, or regular year. And I think you guys came and brought us like, I don't know, 12 banks that we had installed in end of December and 1st of January. So, you know, we had the point with the students. We didn't have a whole lot of students on campus. This year we brought more of them back, but last year we hardly had any. So it was a good time for us to be able to use this and prove our existence of having smart lockers. And that's what everybody bought into, because we don't know what the future is going to be. This way they can get it whenever they need it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, Blaine, I'm just gonna, Mona Lisa, give me 1 second. I'm just gonna, you know, just Blaine, because Blaine, you know, you mentioned something interesting. You talked about the buy-in, you know, from the faculty and staff, right? Because you use these for faculty and staff, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Correct.
So, you know, a lot of times, you know, you inside the university environment, you've got, you know, hey, we need this desktop delivery. It's got to be this way. How did that go over? And you know, from maybe the initial to where you are today, was there kind of a revolt, or was it, over time it's better? How did that work out?
Well, initially we had a couple that, people don't like change. We had a couple older people here that didn't want that. They wanted it on their desk and got to have it on their desk. But in the most part, after it got installed and people understand what it's at, because once we installed it there last year, a lot of people still was working from home. So it worked out good because they'd come to the office when they needed to, and they could just go in the lockers and get it. So that some of them came at 7 o'clock at night. So it worked out really well. They all bought into it. So it kind of helped us right from the start. Is the lockers were installed, and again, probably 80% of campus was working from home. So they got kind of into it that way. And then when they came back this fall, it just stepped right in. And we have so many people that tell us it's probably the greatest things ever happened, because they get to go get it whenever they want to. They love it. So we don't have anybody at this time complaining that they want it on their desk. Everybody on campus here is bought into it.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, Mona Lisa, I am sorry. I did not mean to cut you off. You were just ready to go, so I got to go right back to you there. So
That's okay. That's okay.
Where did your approval have to go? What kind of titles and that?
Yeah. So it went through a few more steps. So like I said, they created this great process. But it all started with, so the department was considered the requester, right? So the department, again, we had all the forms, we had all the criteria. So we put together a request, and then the department has to find a sponsor. So the sponsor there are 10 members on this institutional committee, which are all senior leaders. So you basically had to pitch it to one of them to sponsor you to go, and for obvious reasons, so that they're not just getting flooded with requests that aren't going to make it far. The great part is we had multiple people that wanted to be our sponsor because they were behind it. So of course we let my boss be the sponsor. So we had our AVP, and then again, the VP was definitely a co-sponsor there. They take it first to the institutional committee and present on our behalf. If they're more interested, which they were right away, then we get invited as the requester to their next meeting to present, kind of like Shark Tank. That's exactly how I felt. So they just ask question after question after question, and we sell it to them. Once it gets passed and approved by them, it goes to another committee, the compliance committee. So the compliance committee, I want to say there's 7 members. That is our internal auditor, the VP of finance, VP of budget, the consulting firm. We have a consulting firm that helps us with this CARES money right now, because there's so much, just to make sure that we're doing it right. Once it is approved by them, it then goes to the president. The president approves, and then the board of trustees.
Mm-hmm.
So, which again, and I know we'll probably cover that a little bit later, but that, it wasn't a challenge, but it did make our timeline a little bit longer, because it did have to go through all these processes. But we just wanted to be sure with this, especially with this federal money, that if we're asked about it 5, 10, 15 years from now, we have all our ducks in a row and can show all the approvals that we had to go through to get to it. So that was our process.
Okay. Yeah, I like that Shark Tank. That's a good analogy, right? Gives you that good visual, right? Pops right to your head. So thank you very much, Mona Lisa. I appreciate that. So, Andrea, I'm going to come back to you now, and you've probably went through a lot of these similar steps here, but how long did that process take you, right? How long from the initial time we discovered this is kind of where we want to go till the approval to implementation? What did that kind of timeline look like?
For us, it took quite a while. So we decided that we wanted to try and pursue additional lockers through CARES Act back at the end of last school year, so about May-ish. And so we started the approvals. We got like the estimate of how much it's going to cost, like negotiate on that a little bit. And then we sent it over to our president's office, probably in the summer sometime, so June, July. And we got approved about 2 weeks ago to get the additional lockers. So we've been waiting for a while to get the approval done.
Okay. And was it just, the internal, kind of, was there, like Mona Lisa, she was like playing on Shark Tank over here.
Right.
And,
We didn't go quite like that. I think once the approval got written up and submitted, it was kind of out of our hands, so to speak.
Okay. Mhm.
I never had to go like present anything like Shark Tank like she did, but we submitted it and then we just had to kind of wait and see what got approved.
Okay, great. Great. So, you know what? I'm going to keep, bouncing around. And Frankie, I'm going to come over to you now. We haven't heard from you in a while, so you got to get you back on camera. But, obviously you guys did a lot of work there, but kind of what were some of the speed bumps, the hurdles, challenges, obstacles that you encountered along the way, right? Because like anything, we like to think things go smooth, but we always seem to run into something along the way. So just maybe, what can you kind of educate the group about for some of the things that, you personally ran into?
It's like Mona used to say, we have to go through so many steps and so many people. And I wouldn't really look at them as challenges or obstacles. It was more of a learning experience for me. And like Mona Lisa said, stress is good sometimes. This is good stress. Don't worry about it, Frankie. This is a good stress. I'm like, are you sure this is a good stress, Mona Lisa? Frankie, this is a good one. Don't worry about it. So
you had an afro right when it started, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Pulling it in, all 9 yards.
Right. But it was really, since we had to go through so many steps, and even though we went through all these steps, and I still feel that we went through it pretty quickly, even though we had to go through all these different channels. But I think, making sure that we, dotted our I's, making sure that we crossed our T's, because again, it was being looked at by so many different people. If one person turned it away, it was back to the drawing board, start over again, kind of thing. So that was probably the biggest challenge that we had. But Mona Lisa, and I don't know if you can tell, but she's got like a super positive attitude, and not just because she's my boss, I'm saying it on camera in front of everybody. But it was, we're going with a positive attitude. We're going to have a good return, and as she was saying, it wasn't tough because anybody that we spoke with, hey, so how's everything going at the campus stores? Everything is going great. We're getting these campus lockers, and this is how you could use them. It was that kind of attitude that we had towards these lockers. So it really, I'm sure that other people are going to find challenges and obstacles. But again, it was really not that bad for us. I feel. Maybe Melissa could say, Frankie, it was worse for me.
Mona Lisa,
Chime
come
in
on.
real quick.
Help us, Mona Lisa.
So again, maybe not a challenge, but definitely something that we learned was we kind of were reminded to look outside of the campus store, right? So we're the ones that were leading this program and this initiative and this great project. But we really had to remind ourselves to think outside of the campus store when we were making decisions during this project on how many lockers or what the lockers can do or how we wanted to use them. We're used to just thinking of the campus store and what we're going to do for the orders. We had to just stop and say, wait a minute, is that going to be the best for courier services? Is that going to be the best for the library? Is that going to be the best for the student pantry? So I think that was something we weren't used to doing, that we really had to, that was challenging for some of my team.
Mm-hmm.
To just remember this is bigger than just us.
Right. Frankie, you got something to add too, or?
No, I was just agreeing with her because exactly, it was thinking outside the box and not how is this going to benefit me? How is this going to benefit us? And when I say us, meaning the college itself. And that was kind of a different mind shift that we had to take with this project, which again, it's a learning experience because now everything we do, we kind of do look at the big picture, not only the campus store, but how is it going to affect other folks indirectly.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so we're winding down here, so I'm gonna throw one more question here out, and then we'll see if the audience has any questions. But this is kind of for all of you, so maybe one by one we can give a quick little answer. You know what, we always say we learn by experience, and you know what, if I had to do it over again, man, I would. Oh God, so. As we're sitting here today, what's some of the advice you can give the other universities that are out here today that are thinking about this, that maybe you've learned a lesson you've learned that it could be kind of a little golden nugget for someone out there. So I'll go with Andrew, if you want to start.
Yeah. I would
Andrew.
say for us, having the lockers has been a game changer. We were very fortunate that we did have them before, and we've been kind of like what Mona Lisa and Frankie have said, finding other ways to use them. So we've been able to use them for our international student services. So the director can put like items that or have sensitive information into the locker with their signatures, and they're safe. So being able to find other ways to use them that's not just maybe the primary purpose that they were created for has been a huge game changer, being able to keep everything flowing. And everyone will adapt. I know sometimes when there's something new with technology, people are very hesitant, especially when there's been so much new technology in the last year, but people will adapt. And once they see how they work and that they're really very simple, they are able to kind of get on board and understand and go with you on what is actually best.
Excellent, excellent. Good advice. How about you, Mona Lisa? We'll pop right over there. I know you've been so helpful to us for bringing on, and I know you have a 2 o'clock, so I'm going to make sure that you can get to that meeting.
Thank you. No, very close to what Andrea was saying is just really think about how you can use these lockers. We worked very closely with our rep from Quadient that helped us, kind of told us what other schools and other businesses were using them for. So that helped us come up with ideas. But we really, I would say, promote the locker concept as much as you can to as many people as you can around the college. I feel like another analogy, and I don't remember the name. Do you remember the Flash dancers where it started with one person and another person started dancing? That's kind of how I feel like this was. I feel like it started with me and Frankie. And the more people we told about it and the more excited we were about it, we had more and more people. So by the time we went to Shark Tank, we already had fans, and we had the whole college kind of working with us where we weren't trying to get through to them. We were kind of, we already had the momentum going. So I would say promote it as much as you can in every conversation that you have.
Okay. So
and one last thing, sorry. And
no.
If it's not the right time, try again. And I say that because last July was the first time that we presented it. I forgot, I left that out.
Yeah, nice.
And at that time, they were interested, but there were so many requests coming that they were just like, I don't know if right now is the time. And we kind of got put on the side for some months. And, when the opportunity came again, we changed the date on that request and submitted it again. And here we are now. So I would say just keep requesting.
Well, that's great. That's great advice, right? I mean, a lot of times the projects may get tabled because there might be other priorities or the funds aren't there, but they continue to get the funds available to them. So it's a good thing, good piece of advice. How about you, Frankie?
Echoing whatever Andrea and Melissa was said, again, be inclusive. Talk to every department. Show them how they would benefit from the locker unit. And not only that, again, like Melissa said, promote. I mean, we have our teams in our newsletter putting information out there about the locker units. As she was speaking, I was thinking, we were selling them something that they hadn't even seen, so that was a little bit of a challenge because when you're trying to tell people, hey, we're going to get these lockers and they're going to be awesome. And the first thing people think of, wait a minute, are you talking those gym lockers with those stinky socks? you know, and then we're like, no, that's not it. You gotta, this is what we're talking about, you know, and really push it. Some people don't get it. And especially I think in this industry, you have folks that have been here for 20, 30 years, you know, and they're so used to doing something a certain way. And again, everything changes and everything is changing so fast, especially since the pandemic. You know, there's always a new way to do business, and maybe a better way to do business. You know, it may be working now, but you know, what's going to happen in the future? And again, it's just about seeing towards the future and promote. I think that was our best thing that we did.
That's you know, again, great advice, right? Don't let it die on the vine, and keep promoting. You know, you grab those champions, because the more you, like you said, you get that you know, the noise and everybody kind of expecting. So that's great advice. So, hey, Blaine, yeah, I'm gonna have you wrap up here. How about yourself there? What advice would you have for, you know, the CARES Act here for the group?
Well, we had a little, I mean, we promoted the same way, but the other thing is I was granted permission to go and do benchmarking. I mean, we traveled around, went to probably 7 or 8 different colleges just to see how they did it. And, you know, we got the pros and cons of what they did, and we learned from their mistakes. And then once we decided that it was something that we wanted to do, we worked with Claudia, and we brought a system in here and put it in one of the faculty buildings just as a test to make sure people enjoy, you know, liked it and so forth. And then what we did is we promoted around campus. The police go up to the first place that we put it at, and then we put a second one in. So a lot of our clients or faculty was able to go and actually use them and see them before it actually got put into their building. But the benchmarking was tremendous for us. I mean, so, you know, we traveled outside of Ohio, you know, we went to different campuses, and, you know, it really helped us a lot, because it really helped, like my boss, the business service director, she really didn't understand until we went and did this. And then once he got here, we was able to go, and we put out a little brochure, a step-by-step method of how it was going to work, and go that route. So it really worked well for us. I mean, everybody bought in, so it was very good for us.
Good. And you know what? That's a great point, right? Because the benchmarking kind of helps you remove that you know, emotion out of the conversations, right? Because if you benchmark it, you've got data, you've got some facts, you've got, you know, reliable information you can go to that, you know, if you you know, people really want to see something, it's not, well, I feel or I think. It's, hey, here's the data. It speaks for itself.
Well, you actually get to talk to the people that's actually using them every day. You know, it's not, we're not, nothing against salespeople, but we're not talking to salesmen. We're working to people in the trenches.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's how we was able to get the pros and cons. You know, some of these systems, they look nice, but for our establishment here at Ohio University, they wouldn't work.
Right.
So, you know, we had to weed them ones out. So again, I think if you're university or wherever you're at, they let you go and benchmark and look at 2 or 3 facilities. I mean, I think I saw 8 or 9 different facilities, but you know, that way you get more buy-in. And then when people ask you questions, you're more educated on it. You know, all of us know enough about it, get in trouble, but once you get to everybody else talking about it, then you understand it.
Blaine, that's such a good one. I'm sorry, I have to say one more thing.
Oh, Lisa, no, you chime in.
We also took a few field trips, and that was great. You're right, because the credibility, when we were asked, when I was on Shark Tank and they were asking those questions on, but how do you know it works like this, or how do you know it works like that? It was great to be able to say, well, because we went to this school that is also, you know, multi-campuses, that is also being used by the campus store. I was able to, you know, give examples, and even some that are close that I was able to say, hey, if you want, we can go out there. They didn't take us up on it, but again, we took field trip and we asked a lot of questions. And no, that really helped. And I also wanted to say, if anyone ever wants to take a field trip to Orlando, Florida and come see ours, let me know. We like visitors.
Well, that's awesome. That's great. Well, but listen, I you know, we're coming up against the hour here, so respectful of everybody's time. What I, you know, want to do is just thank, you know, Mona Lisa, Andrea, Frankie, And Blaine, thank you very much for your time and your insight. And really, I'd like to, if there's any questions, you can, certainly, send them up in chat, but it seems like there's not many today. But as we wind down, I just like to thank everybody for their time and attention. I hope you found some valuable content today. And what I'd like to do is just close with thanking you for joining us, and wishing you and your family and your friends a very happy and healthy and safe holiday season. So thank you very much, and enjoy. Well,
Bye. See ya. Bye.
All right, perfect. Well, I would just like to say, if any of our members would like to ask a question within the last few minutes, just feel free to submit them now. And then our partners at Parcel Pending, they will get back to your questions individually after today's webinar. So please feel free to do that within the last few minutes. And thank you again to our panelists, from Valencia College, Ohio University, Marian University, and Parcel Pending, of course, for taking the time to speak with us on this, and our audience appreciates it as well. And speaking of our audience, I would also like to thank our attendees for joining us today. For those who enjoyed our presentation today, you'd be pleased to know that there are many upcoming web seminars like this one that are provided by University Business, which is the leader in editorial coverage of news, trends, and current issues in higher ed. Our wide range of readers here subscribe for free, and they stay up to date with us through our print magazine, our newsletters, and web seminars like this one. And for those of you who would like to watch this web seminar again, or maybe for those of you who believe that the solutions provided it would be helpful to your colleagues, you'll be pleased to know that our team at UB will be sending you an email at some point later tomorrow with an on-demand recording of this web seminar and the link to the slides. So with that, on behalf of UB, this is Stephen Blackburn. Thanks, everyone. Take care, be well, and stay safe, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.